Oh, no, not yet. Brilliant. Recording now. All right. Yeah. How's it going, everyone? Leon Angus back with another video. Today, I've got a very special guest on the channel. His name is Jamie. Some of you may have seen his YouTube channel, which has recently emerged on YouTube. But I'll be leaving a link to all of that inside of this video. But more interestingly is, Jamie has been doing niche websites for quite some time now. I'm going to be learning a bit of information from him as well. I'll be picking his brain. And we've got some questions we're going to go through. Hopefully you can learn some points that you can take away and implement into your own business and, to help you move forward. All right. So just to introduce yourself, Jamie, who are you and what do you do?
Yeah, for sure. Well, my name's Jamie Al-Jabori, and this is a hobby of mine, is niche sites. And I started out in 2016. It actually, a bit of the backstory, I work in an industry which is very seasonal. And so I was trying to come up with some business ideas to generate some income for myself during my off season.
Yeah.
And I felt that, I didn't really know much about the online world in terms of internet marketing. Yeah. So I actually started an offline business where I would go to people's homes and check on their homes while they're away, just to make sure like the pipes hadn't burst. I'm in Canada, so it gets cold in the winter, and check on the house and pick up their mail and all that stuff. And I started that, and after a month or two, I said, this is nuts. Like, this is taking up all of my time. I don't have free time. Yeah. I want a business that I can be a bit more independent with. And I think it was one of those, it was a week where I got really sick. I got the flu. And then all of a sudden, I couldn't do the tasks that I needed to do to run my business.
Okay.
And it was soon after that I said, okay, I need to look at something, that I can do online that doesn't need me to be present. Where I can put work in, but then I can walk away from, and it still earns me income. So that was 2015 to 2016, and then that's when I really started diving into all the internet marketing, the various business models out there.
Yeah, and when you actually got involved with online business, what is it that you actually first came across, and what is it that kind of stood out to you with affiliate marketing?
Well, for me, Amazon was always like something I was really interested in because I was like a huge fan of Amazon. I was starting to buy a bunch of stuff from them, and I loved their customer service. I thought, you know what, everybody should know about this company, right? Which obviously everyone does now, but I was really a big fan of it. And then I started to learn, hey, you can make money either referring people to products on Amazon or what I was really interested in the beginning was Amazon FBA, fulfilled by Amazon.
Yeah.
I really started researching FBA, but then I got kind of scared a little bit about, buying inventory and shipping it, and there was more of a commitment to that business model. So I kind of said, you know what, I kind of leaned more towards the niche site building, and because there was just less overhead to start, right? Less risk. That's just my time, right?
Yeah, perfect. Okay. And just to give people a perspective of where you're currently at, I don't know if you're happy to share that, but what are your current like earnings, traffic, and how many sites do you actually own?
Sure. Yeah. And if you go to my channel, I have posted a recent income report for my Amazon earnings. I think I was around $800 or so per month. And that fluctuates. So, some months I'm around the $400 or $500 mark. Some months I get to the $900, $1,000 mark. And that's been consistent for about a year and a half.
Brilliant.
What's really crazy and why I keep doing this is because when I first started, out of the gate, after about 9-10 months, I was up to close to $3,000 a month. With my site, really nice. My one site. And it was sort of a top 10 type site. Now this was before they changed the commission structure, and then before a significant Google update. And I kind of got the double whammy. I got the change in the commission structure and the Google update.
Yeah.
which threw me right back down to,
Yeah.
I think I went back down to like $100 or $200 a month.
Oh, wow.
So,
It's a big drop.
I tried to combat it's depressing, right? Like
Yeah.
you think you've made it.
Demotivating, definitely.
Yeah, it's very demotivating, right? You
Mm.
think you've made it, and then all of a sudden you're back to square one.
Mm.
So, that got me, that first site is actually still doing okay, and it probably makes like 300 or 400 a month out of
Oh,
my
okay.
800
Yeah.
last month. But then I decided to create a similar style website, top 10, but a little bit more effort with the content,
Yeah.
better content, tried to interlink a little bit better.
Yeah.
And it wasn't as spammy. It was just a
Yeah.
little bit more of a proper website that I thought that would be a better user experience and
Yeah.
wouldn't be penalized by Google.
Yeah. Okay. And what do you think the reasons of why you was actually, penalized or your traffic reduced by Google? Was there any particular reason?
Yeah, I think that like on that first website, I think I have probably close to 200 posts,
Oh,
and
okay.
and every single one of them is the best blah blah blah
Yeah.
of
Yeah.
or for blah 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 blah.
Yeah.
Like there wasn't any content that I felt or was useful. It was all
Hmm.
just
By
buyer
intent.
intent,
Yeah.
keyword, and cookie cutter format.
Yeah.
There was no authenticity to what I was doing. It was strictly to be an intermediary between the Google searcher and
Yeah.
Amazon and
That's
to
it.
catch
That's a
that
bridge.
traffic, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay.
So it worked great for the first year,
Yeah.
and once it started ranking all these the pages, but then after that it blew up because Google's smart enough to realize, hey, this guy's just he's not providing value to
Yeah.
the user. He's just trying to be an intermediary.
Yeah. Okay. And how did you actually learn to build niche websites? Like, who did you learn from? What are the sources of information that you use to gather this methods and strategy from?
Yeah, I was thinking about this earlier this week, and there's two websites that I really gravitated to very quickly, and that was Smart Passive Income with Pat Flynn,
Okay. Yeah.
which many people discover when they're first online.
Everyone starts there. I did.
Everybody starts there, right? That's why he makes
It's
$1
the
million
income
a
report.
month,
It's
right?
like, whoa.
Yeah. But
Yeah.
then the next one was Niche Pursuits with Spencer
Yeah.
Hawes.
Yeah.
I found his content excellent. I started listening to his podcasts.
Yeah.
And there was one podcast in particular. It was with a lady named Claire Smith. I think it's Claire Smith. I have it written down.
Yeah.
And you can search for it. And she actually was very candid in her podcast interview about how she was making close to $10,000 a month
Okay.
ranking niche sites
Mm-hmm.
with very very straightforward content. This podcast was, I think, in 2016. I believe it was released.
Yeah.
So what she was promoting back then probably doesn't work now. It was basically ranking 300 to 500 word posts with a few affiliate links.
Okay.
And sending them to Amazon. And I think you and I know now that those days are long gone, right?
Yeah.
You can't do that.
Yeah.
It
Yeah.
doesn't work, right? But that got me motivated. And that's what actually started my first website, where I created these 200 posts of, let's say, 500 to 700 word articles.
Yeah.
Looking for very low competition keywords.
Okay. And for your plans, like, with your business, do you take the approach of, building a portfolio, or do you want to do the kind of buy and have an exit strategy kind of plan? Where are you with that?
So what hurts the most
Yeah.
is when my first website was doing about $3,000 a month, and I did that for about 2 or 3 months.
Yeah.
In the middle of that, I actually had an unsolicited offer through my contact form.
Okay.
Said, hey, you know what? I really like your website. I see your keyword rankings. I've done an analysis. I'm gonna offer you $50,000 for this site right now.
Wow. Yeah.
And I had put I had hired some writers through iWriter.
Yeah.
And the writing was really not very good, right? But so I had spent maybe $1,000 investment in that site. plus my own time.
Okay.
And at the time, I'm thinking, well, I'm not going to take 50 grand. I'm making 3,000 a month.
Yeah,
That doesn't make sense to me, right? I'm gonna be past 50 grand if I just hold on to this
Within
thing
a
in,
year and a half. Yeah.
year and a half, right?
Mm.
And lo and behold, sure enough, as we talked about, I got hammered a few months later, right? So it kind of made me, realize there is a strategy there to ranking, generating some income, proving it over like a year, and then exiting.
Yeah.
Because you just don't know how long you can last for ranking your keywords, right?
Yeah.
But me personally, it's still a hobby. I do work, as I say, full time. So this is not something I'm relying on or my family is relying on. So I am holding on to these sites and these assets. I would say two of the sites are more like something I think are more legitimate websites that have content, mostly good informational content that helps the person searching. And then that steers them to the possibility of buying some products in that niche. Whereas the other first three were very sort of bam, bam, best, and just trying to soak up any traffic that was.
I think of like 10 beats when I think of that. You know that.
That's right. 10 beats. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. So what we want to do now, what I want to do, not we,
sure,
is get into your strategy of how you actually, build these sites now and your approach to it now. So the first question I want to ask is, your approach when building a brand new website. Do you use like, brand new domains, or do you use like expired domains?
I use brand new domains. I don't have anything against expired domains. It's just I'm a little particular about the domain name and trying to come up with something original. Nothing fancy, but I just I've always just bought them.
Okay, brilliant.
Brand new. Yeah,
brilliant. And for your approach of monetizing your sites, are you more edging towards, the affiliate side, or do you use a mixture of affiliate and ads? And if so, like what programs do you use? Obviously, mentioned Amazon, but do you do a bit of ClickBank? Is there anything else going on your sites?
For they're all Amazon focused. The two websites, and I can mention this now on my channel. You can see one of the websites is called weightedblanketreport.com.
Yeah. Okay.
And that's an example of a niche site I'm very proud of that has excellent content. I hired writers to write the content, and it's very in depth. It's it has had trouble ranking. I do rank for some keywords, and I'm probably getting about 5,000-6,000 page views a month.
Okay, that's pretty good.
Yeah, and
how old is that site?
That site is about 16 months old.
Oh, okay, yeah.
And it's got about 30 posts on it.
Okay.
But the challenge has been, as you know, Google has sort of been very reluctant to rank sites that anything to do with health. So this is weighted blankets. They consider more of a health niche. And I think I'm falling into that category where they're sort of really keeping a cap on your rankings until you really can prove to them that you're an authority in that topic. So that's a word of warning to anyone building sites. You've really got to be careful about the niche you're going into. Health is definitely one that is very tough to rank without extreme authority. Which rightfully so, right?
It's true. I've heard it before. I think it was Income Score I was watching, and they were talking about health, niche websites, because obviously it's something that potentially could cause a big harm to a massive amounts of people if they're, wrongly informed.
Weighted blankets, I don't think I'm solving any of the health issues of the world, but unfortunately, I think I'm getting lumped into that with that website. So
All right, so the next question is one that is mainly targeted for the people who are watching this YouTube channel, because it's something that I find a lot of people get stuck with. It's one of the big hurdles that people find crossing, and it's right at the beginning. How do you actually go about picking a niche? What is it that stands out to you that says, yep, I'm going to go into that niche and that's where I want to build a site?
Well, there's two things. So, and getting back to your question just before this one, I do have one website in particular that I'm hoping to get. I'm at 10,000 page views.
Okay.
And I'm hoping to get that to 15, 20,000 page views, where
Yeah.
I can apply for an ad platform,
Yeah.
maybe like Ezoic, I
Ezoic.
believe.
Yeah. Or
Ezoic.
media. Yeah. Or Mediavine. Yeah.
Mediavine, yeah. I know
Yeah.
some of these you have to get really you have to
Yeah.
get really high up there with your page
That's right.
views, right?
I think Ezoic's like 10,000.
Yeah, but you know what? I
Mm.
went on their website recently. I think they've upped that to
Oh wow.
25,000 now.
Oh.
So that
Okay.
it makes it more challenging, right?
Yeah.
So, but I think they do. If if you apply and your website is great content, they will take you at a lower number, from what I've
Okay.
heard.
Yeah.
So my strategy now is to, or has been, first of all, is the Amazon product. Can I get something in that $100 to $200 range that would be something desirable by that niche?
Yeah.
Because I had pages on my other sites where I would be promoting a $20 or $30 product, and it takes forever
Yeah.
to make a decent return on that, right?
Yeah.
So that's that. So it's the product first, the Amazon product that I can promote first,
Yeah.
and then is there potential for the informational keywords that I could get enough page views that I could get money from ads and make sort of a both Amazon and ad network revenue.
Yeah. That's exactly what I do. In a nutshell, I pick
Yeah.
$100 to $200 price range, and it's because you're almost reverse engineering the process and thinking you're starting with the end in mind and thinking, how am I going to monetize this thing? Because
Yeah.
then that will determine what kind of keywords you're going to go for, and the level of competition within that spot as well. Oh, okay. So when you're picking your products, like obviously you've given us the metrics on what you would go for within a certain price range. Obviously, because 200 is good enough that people don't have to think about it too much, and it's still low enough that you can make a good commission at the same time while someone makes a fast purchase. But what are some of the other things that you look out for? Like, do you check reviews or anything like that as well? Is that important to you?
You know what? I find that if you're picking a niche, you want to look at something that is a little bit technical, that you figure, there's certain things that people just don't need to Google about. They just go on instinct.
Yeah.
But if you get something a little bit technical, and I'm just going to refer to the weighted blanket thing.
Yeah.
I actually knew nothing about weighted blankets. I was really curious about them when I stumbled across them on Amazon, actually, and I didn't even know this category existed.
Yeah.
And then I said, you know what would be really cool? Because I always thought, websites like the Wirecutter and stuff like that, I really was impressed with that, because that's like a real business. Like, they have the products, they're touching, feeling, testing, and that to me is the way of the future in terms of making review sites or whatnot that are authentic and actually provide
valuable information.
Yeah, exactly, right.
Mm.
So getting back to the weighted blanket, I actually purchased one from Amazon.
Yeah.
And I selected one that I thought would be a good one to promote through affiliate links.
Yeah.
And then I tested. I had my family sleep with it. I slept with it. We washed it. We took all these pictures with it. I did a video. My very first video on my channel is me going through a review of this unboxing of this weighted blanket and testing it. And that's how I built that whole website, is around that one blanket to start.
Yeah.
And then I added other affiliate links for competing blankets, right?
Okay.
So I do look for something that you can actually really get into, other than just reading about something. I think there's some, or like, if you're into an animal, let's say if you have a bird or a parakeet or whatever, maybe you don't know anything about parakeets, but you buy a parakeet, right? And then you sort of document your journey, right? About taking care of it, feeding it, everything. And then you can do videos, you can do pictures. And I think having authentic, real iPhone pictures on your website it really increases your stick rate with people reading your blog post and really getting into your content. Right?
Yeah, it's a lot more relatable, definitely.
Yeah. I think my first few sites were all just cut and paste the image from the product page and have a link go to Amazon, and you just sort of do pros and cons and bit of content. But you know, those did work and they still work to a degree, but I think people are getting smarter. They want authenticity, right? They want to see that you actually have used this product before, right?
Of course, of course. Okay, so moving on to keywords. What's your approach to your keyword strategy? How do you go about finding keywords for a brand new website? You know, how do you analyze or assess the level of competition? And what is it that stands out to you to pick a certain keyword that you'd like to go for?
So I'll just type in Google in the search query. I'll just type in, let's stick with weighted blankets. I type in weighted blanket, and then I look for the most commonly asked questions snippet where you've got those 4, and you just keep clicking them, and more keep coming up. And my belief is that they are ranked from most common to least common. So I don't worry about keyword volume. I don't care about that. I don't care about buyer intent. I care about, can I answer this question better than the person that's ranking number 1? So with weighted blanket, I felt that a lot of those questions that came up, I felt that I could really outperform the websites that were ranking number 1 right now for those keywords. So, you know, see, this is where it comes in. This is where it becomes an issue with health, because weighted blanket actually solves a lot of problems that people have, or not solves, but it helps alleviate, you know, ADHD and you know, restless leg syndrome and some of these really serious health things. And that's where I'm struggling to rank, is because although I believe I have the best content, they feel that another site has more authority in the health niche to answer. Even if they just write like 100 words from an authoritative health related website, Google trusts that more than they'll trust a niche site that doesn't have that authority.
Of course, definitely. Okay, so I know you said obviously you don't focus so much on buyer intent, but do you still include those kind of you know, keywords within your strategy for a site? So you do a mixture of like informational and buyer intent.
That's right. So on my weighted blanket report website, you'll see I've got about 30 posts, and they're all informational. And then I've made one post that is the best weighted blanket and reviews. And that post is slowly getting up in rankings. I think last time it didn't even register for the first 5-6 months, and now I think it's in the top 50 for that best weighted blanket or weighted blanket reviews. It's in the top 50 now. And I think it's over 8,000 or 9,000 words is that post.
Oh, wow.
So I really hammered that one. Yeah, I made like the best post I could on that buyer intent keyword. So my hope is that will rank in the top 3 in the next year or so. And if it does, I think that would instantly make that post alone could generate probably $1,000 to $2,000 a month. If I hit that keyword.
Just to give people a gauge of, you know, your approach to this, because obviously you're very experienced with what you're doing. So that's just like, obviously you've only got that one post, and so in future, like, would you build all of your sites like that, or does it depend on the niche, would you say, like in regards to
I think it depends on the niche. And certainly, you know, I appreciate, you know, I'm still fairly new to, like, I'm 3-4 years in, and I mean, I guess people watching this video, there's probably people that make, you know, thousands and thousands of dollars with their niche site. So I by no means, you know, I'm just giving you my experience with it. And,
personal experience.
Yeah, exactly, right. But sorry, what was the question again you asked?
Yeah, so what I was asking is so just to give people a gauge, because a lot of what I find with beginners is they want to know, you know, exactly what the percentages are in that sense. Everyone wants things to be exact, you know. So
right, okay.
In regards to obviously for this site, you've done, like, you could say like 1% buyer intent, and then the rest are, you know, informational.
Yeah, no, for sure. I get you for sure. I always thought it should be 50-50 at the minimum, but I honestly believe if you want to future-proof your website and make sure that you're not going to ever be considered by Google to be sort of a spammy kind of only worried about monetization type of thing, I think you should be 75% informational and 25% buyer intent.
Brilliant.
But
Okay.
what you can do is include a little bit of a link or two, inline text suggesting an affiliate product on a lot of your informational posts. What I'm saying is, on your informational post, you still can have an affiliate link or two, but have it inline in the text, not like a big button or not a best keyword or anything like that.
Okay, and for those informational posts, like for your keyword strategy, do you target, because we could have two different types. One could be like, I don't know, like how to, like if you wanted to say like how to make a smoothie, then people might be looking for the recipe or a blender to make that smoothie, or how to bake a cake. They might be looking for the utensils to buy that. So that still has a semi buyer intent behind it. But if we're talking about something, if someone says, I don't know, for example, something just random about information in that sense, then, would you still recommend products on that kind of post in that sense? Or
you can, you're right. Some of the keywords you're going to rank for that are easier are ones that marketers don't target, because they're just content, and it's usually freebie seekers, right? They're looking to solve a problem of theirs but not spend a dime. But the thing is, those type of keywords can rank you in the top 3 very easily, and it builds your authority, it builds your trust of the website with Google. And the more angles you see people coming into your site from, it tells Google, hey, this guy is all about weighted blankets. Like, he covers everything. He is becoming an expert at weighted blankets. So now that he's said that these are the best weighted blankets, well, I'm going to trust him now, because he's earned our trust by giving out all these other informational posts to answer various questions, right?
Brilliant.
But I would say try and keep it under 25% buyer intent keywords, because you just want to keep your site looking on the up and up.
Yeah, definitely. Okay, and so it's a good entry point strategy, to be honest, to get yourself known. Okay, and I just want everyone to pay attention, just whilst we're doing this video. He said one thing, and that was the fact that, Jamie just mentioned that he never saw that buyer intent post pop up for a good 6 months or so. So what he was talking about is it wasn't even showing up in the top 100 for 6 months or more, or so, because a lot of people run around like head.
And that's 6 months just to see it in the top 100. To get to the first page, this could take me over a year, maybe up to 2 years for that that's the thing, is you've got to be patient with building niche sites. Sometimes don't give up on a keyword. It just takes time to rank.
But some people, they message me and they're really upset, and they're like, it's not working, I can't see it. And I'm like, just give it time, but once you've gone through that, you kind of, you have a belief in it, so you can wait patiently. But if you've never done it before, it seems like nothing's working.
Yes, you're right. It's that belief system, and that's why it's not recommended you quit your job and start niche site building, because you need to have other distractions, and basically either you're writing content or hiring content, but you need to keep busy with that. And if you start a site, my philosophy is to start with 30 pages, and that's enough, and then let it sit and let it wait, and then start another niche site, right? And then do that, and then it might take you a few months to do that, then start another one. Now it's like planting seeds for crops, right? You're waiting to see if it grows, and how big does it grow, right?
Yeah, definitely. And is that what kind of gives you a good indication of what to work on in that sense? Do you wait for something to give a good kind of, indicator?
So weightedblanketreport.com is totally in that waiting and seeing category. So if I feel that Google is giving me a bit of love and allowing me to rank for some of these keywords, I will begin to hire writers again to fulfill that website and get that to 70, 80, maybe 100 posts. I will invest in it, but I'm a bit gun shy to invest in it until I can see some proof that I'm actually gonna get some rankings out of that site.
Brilliant. Okay, and when we were just touching on the point of your keyword strategy, you obviously mentioned that you check your search engine results pages, rankings. How are you doing that? Are you using a tool, or do you use any tools for your keyword research, or are you just doing it straight off the Google platform?
So I used to use a paid tool. I can't even remember the name. It was very inexpensive, like $5 a month.
Okay.
But I honestly felt like I was, you know how like you check your Amazon earnings every day? Like everybody does that, right?
I try not to, but it's so difficult.
Well, you have to, right? Because it can give you an alarm bell if their clicks have gone down for some reason, day over day, right? But I was checking keyword rankings like every day, and I was getting obsessed about it. And I said, you know what, this is nuts. I'm supposed to be building this online business to have some freedom and to give myself some, some time. And I'm becoming a slave to this thing, right? And I was becoming too analytical. And I said, forget it. I'm not worried about those keyword rankings. I'm just going to keep worrying about building content or buying content. And let them rank on their own and come in and check on it every 2 months or whatever. And how I do that is I just use the free tool. I think it's called smallseotools.com or something like that. It's on the first two of Google when you ask for a free keyword checker. And I find as long as you can go through all the ads, you can get to where you need to get to, and that's a great tool. And if I'm just trying to figure out how I'm doing, I use that free tool.
Brilliant. Okay. So you mentioned earlier that your content strategy for weightedblanket.com has been, to hire writers. Is that how you're going into all of your sites, or do you write some of the content, moving forward?
I tried to write content myself, and I'm not a bad writer, but it takes me forever, and I'm too analytical. So I find that I'm revising my content constantly and trying to make it perfect. And by the time I write a 1,500-word article, it's been 4 hours or something, right? And I'm like, you know what? And I don't enjoy that process. I enjoy the strategy of developing a site and the strategy of, okay, what direction am I going to go in with these keywords? And how do we build everything? How do I relate to this and come in at that angle? I love the strategy of it. But I don't like the actual grind of creating content. And then obviously you're researching as well, and there's an art to that, right? And
it's true.
Now the other side of the coin is now you have to hire writers, you have to spend out of pocket, and you have to get decent writers. That's a whole other chapter, right? But I find that is doable for me, and something I don't mind doing, but I don't get any enjoyment out of writing.
Okay. And in regards to, still touching on your content strategy, how do you go about selecting headlines? Because obviously click-through rate is now a ranking factor and, can help improve rankings. So how do you focus on that? Do you focus on just, kind of using the keyword that you found as a question, or do you add?
You know what? I could be a lot better at that. I think that's somewhere where I need a lot of work on. I usually will just use the keyword as a question. So for like the weighted blanket thing, if there's a question, how do weighted blankets help people with restless leg syndrome, and that's in the Google question, I will literally just copy and paste that entire question word for word and put that as my blog post. And it does work. There's no doubt it works. But there's an art to doing proper titles, and I think I could increase my click-through if I worked on that and had some creativity.
Because just to give everyone a pointer, you can use, Google Search Console if you log into the Search Console, and it will show you your percentage of click-through rate based on your impressions. If you sort by
that's right.
You can see how your click-through rate is, and then you can analyze, obviously, the top 10 ranking results or anything similar to that keyword and see what it is that actually is, getting them that high click-through, or, maybe try and tweak something and see and monitor it to see if it improves.
Yeah, absolutely. That's a good point.
Okay, so in regards to your content strategy, what kind of length of content do you go for? Because I know that this is also a very important kind of factor of ranking a new site as well.
Yeah, you know what? Income School is great. I like those guys a lot, and they came up with a strategy that I follow, and that is to basically see the first page and the first or second ranking already for that keyword, and simply beat them. So, you know, if it doesn't always mean length will win, but if you know, if it's a competitive keyword, let's say it's a buyer intent keyword and it's competitive, if it's 3,000 words, you know, you are going to have to get to that 3,000 or 4,000 word count to beat them. Unless it's really bad. Like some people have 3,000 words, but the article is trash. Then you could say, okay, I'm going to make a 2,000 word article that's excellent, that I know can beat these guys, right? But a lot of the informational keywords, you only need between 1,000 and 1,500 to rank number one. It's very, you'll be amazed that a lot of marketers will focus on buyer intent, and that's where you have to get into the 3,000-4,000 word to beat people. But for informational posts, you often can get there with 1,000 or 1,500 words of a great article.
Very interesting. Okay, so I know obviously from what you've told me so far, your approach is very what we would target as white hat in that sense, quote unquote. So basically in regards to backlinks, how do you go about getting backlinks? You know, do you let it happen naturally, or do you go out and actively actually try and get those back to your site?
So I let it happen naturally. But I believe that there is a lot of, you can gain a lot of traction and boost your earnings by seeking out backlinks, whether you do it through guest posting. You know, obviously Backlinko is, and he's an authority on that, but guest posting seems to be the #1 way to get backlinks. But again, that means your site has to look pretty decent. Like you can't get backlinks to a niche where you have a lot of buyer intent keywords on your website, because they'll just look at that and think, you know, you're just spammy, right? And you're just in it for the money. So there's an art to that, right? But I let it happen naturally. Again, that's a long process though. When you're letting it happen naturally, you've got to be able to give yourself 1 year or 2 years for that site to rank. But it does happen. Like if you write great content, you will naturally get backlinks. But you know, most of the big players will either use a private blog network or create their own backlink profile by aggressively seeking out backlinks, right?
And funny enough, you mentioned that about letting it happen naturally. I saw Income School in one of their videos where they said, you know, like winners keep winning. So when you actually achieve like a, you know, result kind of in the top page, like top 10, you start to naturally get a lot of backlinks, because when people are trying to do some outbound links on their posts, when they're writing content, they kind of just search a keyword, look for the top 3 or 5 and just link to it, you know? So
yeah, for sure.
So you get quite a few there, don't you? Okay. And in regards to, you know, so you said you answered that next question, actually. Do you use any social media at all on your sites? And if so, what platforms?
So Pinterest, I use Pinterest a lot. I tried, I only have one video for Weighted Blanket Report, and that was my first YouTube video that I did. I believe YouTube is a great opportunity to add content to your and get traction going quickly to your website. And Pinterest, I have shied away from Pinterest lately. I think it's just pure laziness, but I was pinning like everything I could, especially my affiliate links. I was pinning them with my first few sites, and I actually got a decent amount of traffic from that. Pinterest is amazing. Like it does skew very female, but if you can be strategic with Pinterest and your site, there's amazing things you can do to drive traffic, right? But I'm not an authority on that. I do dabble with it, but I don't really do any Facebook. A lot of marketers have shied away from Facebook for organic traffic. It just doesn't do it. Facebook is like this walled garden. They want to keep you on Facebook. So unless you're paying them for an ad to drive traffic, which doesn't usually pay, it's not an ROI for affiliate Amazon affiliate sites, right?
Definitely. Okay, and in regards to your linking, you know, how do you go about internally linking your articles to each other? Do you use any kind of, I know you may have heard of silos in the past, silo structures, or do you just link where it makes sense?
I try and link where it makes sense. And again, I probably could be better at this as well. I've kind of tested where if interlinking or just keeping standalone articles, you know, what really works better than the other. And I really haven't found a definitive answer there. I think if it kind of comes back to the user experience. If your article that you're talking about can help, or sorry, if there's something in the article that needs more clarification, or you have an actual article that supports something you're talking about, I would definitely interlink that. But I don't get too hung up on it, only because I know, like, I still have pages that rank #1 that have no internal links whatsoever. And they're money keywords and they do great. And so it doesn't, I'm still, the jury's out on how much effort you need to put into that.
Okay.
You know?
And when you're doing your internal links, obviously we've got anchor text. This is very drilling down
for sure,
into the site. But yeah, some people are going to ask, you know, so
yeah.
like when you're doing your anchor text, do you, like, you know, focus on just anything that kind of makes sense, or do you do that strategically, like, you know, on a exact match keyword, or, you know?
I try and vary it. I usually 3 or 4 words, or like a phrase in the sentence, or whatever would look good to. I find if you hyperlink too much of the text, it looks a bit weird. So I try and do 3 or 4 of the words, and it doesn't have to be like exact match keyword or anything like that. I don't think too much into that.
Okay. All right. I've got next. What key metrics do you use, or how do you assess the level of competition within a certain, you know, for a certain post, a new post that you're going to do? So a keyword that you're targeting, you know, you've got your keyword, well, no, you haven't written your post yet. You've got your keyword, and you're assessing the level of competition. So before you write it, so you're assessing, you know, like, can I actually rank this? What is it that you do in order? I know you've got an in-depth video which you guys can check out on his channel, but just to give us a brief, how do you go about that and assess, you know, competition?
Yeah, it kind of goes back to when you originally do your niche search, your niche research. You want to see if there's some dominant players in that niche. I'll be honest with you, like, let's just take Income School for a sec. You know, if you're going to start a camper website, you've got to take their camper, you know, report.com into consideration, that these guys have got, you know, 400 articles now on everything to do with campers, and he's just nailing it left, right, and center. Do you really want to go up against that? And, you know, the RV industry is huge, so I'm sure there's keywords they haven't touched yet. But so that's kind of, it starts with your niche research. Is there some dominant players that you feel like, you know, can I even get a foot in the door here? You know, going back to weighted blankets, there wasn't really, the only people that were doing websites were people that were selling them. They created you know, homemade weighted blankets, so they were answering some common questions. But there was no, like, dominant blog that really covered a lot of the topics. So I thought there was an opportunity to go into that, right? But, you know, I will come up against when you're looking at, like, a question that would be commonly asked in that niche. When you look at the top couple websites, if there's one there, like, with 5,000 words, and it's just, you read it and it's like, wow, they did a great job. They're just, you kind of sort of raise the white flag sometimes and think, you know, I'm going to move on and I'm going to try another keyword here.
Okay.
You know? Like, unless
you
that
fight battles that you can win, basically.
Exactly. All my sites are low competition keywords, and I think you're banging your head against the wall trying to beat a guy or girl who has a monster post that is just nailing it and is well written and has pictures. And it's like, you know what? You got to sort of tip your hat to them sometimes and say, you did a great job. I'm going to move to the next keyword, right?
Okay, so I know that you've done 30 posts on the weighted blanket site. For your other sites, like, what is the kind of age range of your sites? Like, you know,
so my oldest is the one I first started. I think it's coming up to 3 years old now.
Okay. And what's the traffic on that one?
I think probably about probably like 700 page views a month.
Okay, yeah.
But it makes like $200-300 a month.
Oh wow, that's crazy.
Right? And that's because it's like 100% buyer intent keywords, right?
Yeah.
But you can't grow that website. I don't touch it anymore. I just check on some links and I add I actually add an informational post every 6 months to the website just to make it look fresh and everything else. But my other sites, I have a site with, no kidding, there's 16 posts on it that makes $100 a month. And again, that's buyer intent keyword. So it really is amazing. Like a lot of people say, well, you have to get to this number, 50 or 100 articles before Google will trust your site. And I don't believe that. I believe it depends on how competitive the keyword you're trying to rank. But low competition keywords, you can rank on a website that has 5 posts or 6 posts. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. So so I've got 200 posts on one site. I've got 16 on one, and I've got another 100 on another one. And then the 2 websites that I believe I've done the best job in creating that may have long-term, that I could maybe keep for 5-10 years that would earn some income is the weightedblanketreport.com. And then another site I built very similarly that has 30-40 posts but is getting a lot of traffic. And I'm hoping to activate an ad network on that one in the next 6 months.
Brilliant. Just a question that's personal. How long did it actually take you to make your first sale online with niche websites? Because obviously your first site very rapidly made quite a lot.
Oh man, yeah. So I'll tell you, I think it was 3 or 4 months, and I made my first sale. And so my first month was like $15. My next month was like $60. Then it went to $800 the next month.
Oh wow!
And then it went to $2,800 the next month.
Great.
It was exponential. Like I was like getting my letter all ready to quit my job, and like I thought I'd made it. Like I thought, are you kidding me? This is like the life, right? And then the depression hits in when you get, that goes like this, right? And then you realize it's not an uncommon story. A lot of these guys, like, Doug Cunnington, I follow a little bit. He's obviously in the space, and he's very honest with, how he started, and he went like this right away, and then it went boom. And it took a long time to get back to,
Okay, so you obviously have a kind of, build it and let it grow approach, like planting a seed. Do you do anything in particular? Do you believe in the Google sandbox, and do you do anything in particular to actually help yourself get out of that phase, the phase of where nothing's showing up and
I don't really know if that is a thing or not. You see these incredible you can talk about religion, or you can talk about the Google sandbox, and both will give you a polarizing view, opposite views from people, right? But I don't have an opinion on it. I just know it does take time for. I think what it is I don't think there's a sandbox per se. I think it's Google is constantly testing your content. I will see an article that you write. That in the first month or so, sometimes they'll spike it to the first page for maybe half a day, just to get some traction on it and see what the metrics are like from the users who are interacting with that content, and then they'll drop it immediately, because that's sort of like a toe in the water, right? To see, is this worth pursuing? Like, is it worth pushing up? It's incredible to think about how Google does all this, and the machines behind it, right?
Very
and
advanced,
right?
definitely.
Yeah.
And intricate, to be honest. Okay. What are some of the biggest failures you've had along the way? So you obviously mentioned getting hit. I'd say that's the biggest one.
$3,000 to nothing. I think the biggest failures to do with niche sites is definitely getting burned on a few, like, writers that you begin to trust, and if you don't keep up on them or checking their work, either they're going to plagiarize. Once they've done 10, 15, 20 articles, they get comfortable,
Yeah.
And they could plagiarize and copy content for your blog posts if you're
How
not
do you
keeping up
proof
on it.
check that?
Yeah.
Yeah. Do you proof check it? Like, do you
I
use
do.
like
I
a
use a
website?
plagiarism. Yeah, I use Copyscape,
Oh, yeah, I've heard of
and
them.
will
Yeah.
copy and paste content. I think Grammarly. I did a video actually recently.
Yeah.
Grammarly seems to have a really good one out as
Yeah.
well that they're
Yeah.
coming on with. I'm
Is that
not
a paid
saying you.
service?
I don't know. Grammarly looks like it's free, but I mean, maybe they're just trying to get a foot in the door
Yeah.
on that
Oh,
whole
okay. Yeah.
plagiarism checking thing.
Yeah.
But the Copyscape one I use is very inexpensive. It's
Mm-hmm.
very inexpensive. But I'm not saying you need to micromanage your writers. I'm just saying you need to just do spot checks and make sure that the content is still good.
Mm-hmm.
It's amazing if you can get a writer who can churn out the content but still keep the quality up there.
Mm-hmm.
That's the one you want to. You actually want to pay them more and privately just give them bonuses or pay them more because they're really doing a great job for it.
Definitely.
Yeah.
And what platform do you use to actually hire your writers? Like, iWriter?
Yeah, so I started with like iWriter and some of the other content places, and then I realized, you have no connection to these people. You could request them to write your article, but then you got random people coming in, and so I gave up on that. I use Upwork.
Okay.
Yeah, so and that way I can have a relationship with them. They're hired, they're my guys or girls.
Of course.
And there's just more detail. You can find out where they're from, their background, some of their references for their work and everything else.
And they learn to understand what you're looking for in that sense.
Yeah, exactly. And the billing I've spent over $6,000 or $7,000 in content with Upwork. And I find the billing is excellent too because everything's organized. You can get your monthly reconciliation, and with these other places, or if you're trying to do Fiverr or something, you've got to keep your own records of everything, right?
Yeah. Okay. And just to give anyone tips for anyone who wants to hire a writer, how is it that you go about? Because I mean, although the writer can be great, the most important part is the instruction. So how do you go about providing them the instructions to, get the content that you're looking for?
Well, be very honest and upfront and clear about your intentions. Now, the only thing about don't bring up Amazon niche sites or anything. Just talk about you're looking for a blog writer.
Okay.
Don't ever bring up because I did a mistake of that when I first started. I kind of was almost too honest. I said I need Amazon niche sites to create review articles and all this crap. And Upwork actually slapped me and I think they suspended my account or something.
Oh, wow.
And I got it reactivated, and I said, okay, I understand. Because they're worried that they thought I was hiring writers to actually create reviews on Amazon.com, for my product or something.
Yeah.
So what I do is usually I'm very honest up front. I say I have a blog. This is the niche I'm in. Let's say parrots. I have a parrot blog. I'm looking for writers who either own a parrot or are passionate about parrots or who want to learn about parrots.
Yeah.
Okay. Because if you box yourself into people that only own parrots, you may not get a not get a writer.
Of course, definitely.
So you're looking for someone who wants to learn about parrots most of the time, and then I also say, English and grammar is very important to me. I'm looking for a conversational tone. Articles range between 1,000 to 3,000 words depending on the topic. And please message with your background and information on your prior projects and stuff like that.
Okay.
And then once you get that, so if you get let's say you get 30 people applying, 15 will be terrible, to be honest. They'll be very broken English, so you get rid of those 15. Now you have your 15 left, and then if you just dig in a little bit into their projects, you're just going to start to see, okay, I can get rid of these 10. Now you're down to 5. And what you can do with those 5 or 3 is give them a test project. So you give them a keyword to work on, give them some instructions, and let them do it. The only thing is you do have to commit to paying them, which is fine. So out of those 3 or 5, maybe, probably 3 out of the 5 will give you a decent article and you want to continue working with them. The other 2 will probably show their true colors and maybe got through that vetting process and you agree to part ways. And as long as you're upfront saying the first article is a test article, it's for me to see your content. It's also for you to learn about me and whether you want to work with me. And so you make it reciprocal, right?
Yeah, yeah.
And then, but that usually works out well.
Brilliant, brilliant. Okay. What is your strategy moving forward? So obviously, you want to basically build and hold these sites for monthly income.
Yeah.
So is that what your plan is? Yeah.
It is, but I'm actually looking to diversify away from niche sites, not because I don't believe in them. I think they're going to be really awesome as income earners in the next 5 to 10 years. It does. You do have to give pause to realize people are going to be searching on Google like they do now for the next 5 to 10 years. Is voice going to change the game, right?
Yeah.
Is video going to change the game, right?
Yeah.
Where people want video-based searches or voice searches. So I still think I think there's room for everything, right?
Yeah.
But so for me personally, I'm actually looking to get into more affiliate marketing, but maybe on the digital product side, like JVZoo and Warrior Plus. I'm actually going to start dabbling with that. And that's probably the biggest reason I started my channel is just to talk about all the things I know about right now, but then I would like to review software products and other ways to make money online. I'm very curious about that, right? So I think that's the direction I will be going in probably soon. Just once I've exhausted all of the things I can talk about for niche sites.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah. Okay. And any tips that you could give someone starting out as a basic beginner, like, someone who wants to rank a new site, what would you actually tell them?
Well, first of all, don't quit your job. So make sure that you make sure that this is a hobby to start.
Yeah.
And that you are allocating some money to invest in yourself for this hobby. So you can search, if you have the time, you can get all the information you need on YouTube, pretty much. If you don't have the time, then it is worth investing in some quality courses.
Yeah.
Don't be shy to spend a bit of money to invest in yourself.
Yeah.
I honestly, once I started making that money with my first site, I got really lucky. Like all the information I had gotten was free up until that point with niche pursuits and learning how to build passive income. So I got really lucky. I stumbled across that podcast, which launched me for my first website, which got me all this money coming in. Now I didn't need that money to live. It was kind of my business money.
Yeah. So
I set that aside and I used that to pay for some courses I went into and some tools and everything else. So that's the philosophy I would give to most people is just don't be afraid to set some money aside, even if it's your job money. Just set a bit of money aside to invest in yourself.
Yeah.
And take some courses and network and
are there any courses that you would recommend? I know you're very income school, focused at the moment. So
I like income school. I think those guys are great.
Yeah.
I think that the only issue is, the other income school. It's not much money. It's $300-400, which can be a lot to some people. But there's courses out there that are $1,000 or $2,000.
Yeah, of course.
I really like Authority Hacker.
Yeah. Okay.
I think those guys are awesome. I think their podcast is phenomenal. You can learn a lot from them. They give a lot of free information out.
Yeah.
But it's a big ticket to get into their program. I think it's at least $1,000 or $2,000 to get into their training. So I would recommend Income School to start. I don't know. I've only watched some of Doug's videos. Doug Cunnington. I've never seen his course or anything like that.
He's very data driven, though.
He is data driven, yeah, for sure. And you need to find your own way. And honestly, it comes back to, let's say you don't know about something. How would you go about searching for that information and provide content that would help that person who's searching for that information?
Yeah.
And if you keep that in mind at all times, that you're trying to help the person, you're not trying to write for Google or create some scheme where you can earn money through an affiliate program. You're trying to actually provide helpful information that in
Yeah.
turn you get rewarded with sales.
Yeah, that's probably the number one most important thing, is understanding the intent behind the search.
Yeah, yeah, that's
Yeah.
right. Absolutely,
Mm.
absolutely. But patience is key. I did a video recently on delayed gratification.
Yeah.
Yeah, and you know what? It is so important to be consistent.
Mm-hmm.
And that's the other thing, right? You can wait and wait and wait, but if you're not doing anything in terms of creating content, you always have to be creating,
Mm-hmm.
right? So even though you might be sitting on your website like I am, a 30 post website, I'm creating content for other avenues that I want to eventually earn money with, right?
Yeah. The analogy that I always refer to is, it's like if you were climbing a mountain, the next most important thing is the step in front of you, you know. So if you keep looking up at the big mountain, you never climb it, you know. So you just got to focus on each small step, and it amounts to something big at the end.
Yeah, for sure. Patience, it'll pay off. Don't give up. You know, don't hang in there. For anyone starting, just you've got to give yourself time, and you know, if for my YouTube channel, even like most people start YouTube, they just give up, right? They do 10 videos and they don't get their 1,000 views or whatever, and you just give up. But the key is, you know, is as having the odd comment come through that say, "Hey, this is a great channel," or you know, this little bits of inspiration to keep motivating you, right?
If it wasn't for you starting your channel.
What's that?
I wouldn't have found you if you didn't start the channel, you know. So I'm always on the lookout, you know. So yeah, I'm happy I did come across it, definitely. Okay, is there any questions you have for me?
Oh well, yes, I do. So Leon, how? So you've been at this for about a year or so. How did you get into the Amazon niche site thing? What kind of led you to that avenue?
Yeah, so for me, I started off with affiliate marketing and paid advertising. So I was doing like the whole kind of funnel method, you know, like what's sold online, the most common way. And I made a bit of money a couple of months, and then I would go months without making anything, and I could never really get it to click where I was making a consistent income. So then that led me on to like, you know, looking elsewhere, and that's when I came across like SEO and whatever else. And you know, at the time when I started, I didn't think that, I kind of looked at SEO and blogging as like something that I kind of attributed it to a certain type of personality type. Like, so I thought it wasn't for me. I thought, I'm, you know, kind of like, I always saw these people who are traveling and doing all of this who blog. So that's my perception of it back then.
Travel blogger.
Yeah. So I
lifestyle blogger, right?
Yeah. I always had that in mind. You know, I thought a blog, I'm not going to sit there and write content. You know, no way. I need to set up these pages, this quick money, and get in. You know, and it's just like, so I was doing that, and I ended up starting with SEO, and I come across a guy called Franklin Hatchett. Then I came across Income School. And, you know, it blew my mind when I saw how much money. But the funny thing is, then when I came across it, I started thinking, oh, wow, this is what Pat Flynn was talking about all that time ago. And I never looked at his website like a blog. I more saw him as an authority. Like, so I kind of thought, this is just a successful entrepreneur that has like this website, you know, more than actually thinking that he actually built his success through that platform, you know. So
because he started with architecture, trying to pass an architectural exam, right? And so he created a little blog, first of all, to sort of help people pass that exam, and he started selling his course on how to pass this exam. And started making like $1,000, and that's how he said, oh well, this is awesome, I'm going to teach people how to do this. And that's why he created Smart Passive Income, right? And then that became a monster, right?
So then from there, you know, I started a first YouTube channel which I was documenting all of my kind of journey with, you know, all of the paid advertising and, you know, CPA marketing I was doing, like the cost per action. And basically I got that channel up to like 900 subscribers, and I had that. And then I ended up like, I got to the point where I started doing niche sites, and I built my first site. I've got 2 sites at the moment. So I built my first one, started building it, And when I was building it, I was thinking, okay, I'm sharing all this information. It's still affiliate marketing, but no one was watching it because they wasn't interested in that content. So they wanted to see all the CPA stuff, you know? So eventually I thought to myself, like, one thing I'm good at is always analyzing. I'm able to make a sacrifice in the short term to benefit in the long term. So I thought I can continue trying to hang on to these 900 subscribers and get no views, or I can cut this channel today, start a new channel, and actually grow it to something, you know, big in the future. So I thought, you know what, stop the channel. And I started this new YouTube channel. And this is where I'm at now. So I got two niche websites. One's in the dog niche and the other's in like, it's in the baby niche, which is quite interesting because I had a baby recently.
Good for you.
So yeah, I'm not doing it in the broad kind of topic. I've more subbed down within that niche. But yes, I'm doing that. And the one of them are, you know, focused around ClickBank products, and the other one is completely Amazon, you know, the dog website, which I'll show you after this call anyway. But yeah,
we will exchange on that. And I think you asked me a ClickBank question. I never answered it. I did try the ClickBank, a product on ClickBank in the dog niche as well. Actually, it's funny.
Probably the same one that I've tried.
Probably. well, there's Doggy Dan, right?
Yeah, and the other
Doggy
one.
Dan. But the other one, see, Doggy Dan, actually, you have to apply to it. It's funny. ClickBank, usually you get instant affiliate access, but Doggy Dan actually has become so successful that that he has you apply for that.
My site was rejected for that.
Yeah, I think I was rejected as well. I think he's looking for heavy hitters in that industry, in the dog industry. If your site's not doing hundreds of thousands a month, I think or you have an email list of dog owners or whatever, I think he's looking for specific people. But that's cool, you know. Like, I think I know you're very personable, and I think your channel's going to do great.
Thank you.
That's why I'm actually enjoying doing the YouTube videos with my new channel. I find that's a lot easier for me to create content than blog writing. Do you create your own content, or
I've written all of the content?
Yeah, good for you.
On my first site, I've done just under 100 posts.
Wow.
And on the second one, I've done around 20 posts.
Good for you. That's great. And that's an enjoyable endeavor for you?
Yeah, because I've found a strategy that kind of works for me.
Okay.
I look back at some of the old content when I'm refreshing it, and I'm like, whoa, what was I thinking? Was I high or something when I wrote that?
Yeah.
You know, so you see how
get
far
better, right, at your craft.
Yeah. And then you start like figuring out how to identify what kind of content you should focus on, like to, you know, take elements from, and, you know, and how to put resources together that's actually going to be helpful. And you form a kind of technique, you know, like a strategy around it. So now I've got that strategy, but then it changes for different niches, you know. So I've got it for the dog niche. I understand what they're looking for and what works well, but then for the baby site, I'm still kind of, you know, getting my feet wet with that.
Yeah, well, good for you. No, that's awesome.
Thank you. Any other questions for me?
You know what? I should have prepared some, Leon. I was ready for you to pepper me with questions today, and I appreciate that. No, but it's you know, what do you see? You know, I love niche sites because they're so passive. You know, if you don't have if you're just affiliate products and you're just referring people, you really don't have to worry about customer service. You don't have to worry about returns or any of that stuff. You know, you literally can disengage with your site for weeks and months, and it just runs on autopilot, right? I think that's probably why we love the industry so much, right?
Yeah, of course, definitely.
You know? So, but no, I that's great. I think this has been a good interview.
Brilliant. I've really enjoyed it.
Thank you.
And what we'll do is, you know, we'll check in months to come, maybe 6 months, 4 months, whenever we kind of organize another video and assess, you know, where I'm at, where you're at, and how we've actually moved forward.
I'd love to do that for sure.
Brilliant. Okay, well, thank you for coming on today, and I'll leave you to it. Have a good day.
All right. Cheers. Thanks, Leon.
Bye.
Bye-bye.